Look at this. Somebody come look at this. Look at this. Somebody come and look at this.
Today we're going to be reacting to the Matt Walsh interview, What is a Woman, with this feminist lady.
Right up until the moment when you express any skepticism at all. But before we get to that point, where things really start to sort of fall apart, let's get to know Michelle a little bit. Watch.
My name is Michelle Forcier, and I have a medical degree from University of Connecticut, residency, University of Utah Pediatrics, and I've worked for a number of different Planned Parenthoods for 20 years. I do advanced contraception and abortion, as well as gender hormones, and sort of looking at the whole sort of schema of gender, sex, and reproductive
So as you can see here, she's a medical professional, so she clearly knows what she's talking about. Let's see.
So you've done a lot of work in this field. Could you just start by telling us?
Sure.
At what age can a child first begin to transition into another gender or identify themselves as a gender different from how they were born?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's research and data that show that babies and infants
She just said babies and infants can decide or have the cognitive ability to understand what sex they are and what sex they want to be. Let's continue.
understand differences in gender. Some children figure out their gender really early, and the reason why we are say, oh, that's interesting.
Their gender, because when they're born, we tell them, oh, you're a boy, you're a girl, and as they grow up, they realize, oh yeah, I am a boy and I'm my girl.
Interesting or important is because they're figuring out their gender identity is not necessarily congruent with their sex assigned at birth.
When the doctor sees the penis and says, this is a male, has the sex of male, that's an arbitrary distinction?
Telling that family, based on that little penis, that your child is...
Okay, you saying like by that little penis, like it doesn't mean anything, like, oh, it's just a little penis, it's just like insignificant, it doesn't mean anything, it's a penis, a little penis, it's so little, we could just get rid of it. It's an insignificant, tiny little penis, we could just get rid of it. That's what she's trying to say. Like, what, lady, what are you talking about? It's a penis. You know why it has a penis? Because it's a little boy.
Is absolutely 100% male identified.
Because that's no what it is. It is a male. If he grows up and decides he want to identify as something else, that's a whole other story. But it's a male.
Occurs in their life. That's not correct.
So what is gender affirmation care? You're a big proponent of. If we walk through a child...
And this is my problem with what's going on in today's society. Like, this lady's a medical professional with all these years of experience, degrees, all that. So these is usually the people you would go to for these sort of things. And we are so far gone that even the medical professionals now have to play this game of what is a woman and what is a man and all these gender identity politics and all these games. They got to play these games now when it's like they should not even be... Once a medical professional can't do their job as a medical professional, we have a problem.
Is sitting down with you, is questioning their gender. What's the gender affirmation process?
Affirmation means that as a pediatrician, as someone who says my job is to provide the best medical care for you, is I need to listen really carefully. And how I put it in words for kids so that they can understand it is, tell me your story. Where have you been in terms of your gender and your gender identity? Where are you right now? And more excitingly, where would you like to be in the future?
Have you ever met a 4-year-old who believes in Santa Claus?
Mm-hmm.
I like how you said that. Because when you're a kid, you literally don't know anything. And that's the problem nowadays. People are treating everybody, no matter what age you are, your voice matters. And that's cool. It sounds good. But a child really has no say-so. They don't know anything. When you're young, naive, and really don't know anything, and you're 4 and 5 years old, you don't know anything. So your opinion, you can have an opinion, whether it's valid or not, it's a whole other story. And most of the time, it's not going to be valid. You're 4. The way, what you think and believe in and your hopes and dreams and desires really is not, it's just for the moment. You wake up one day, you feel one way, you wake up the next day, you feel another. I remember when I was a kid, I had a crazy imagination. I like Dragon Ball Z. Favorite cartoon ever made. Don't anybody say otherwise. But I used to, it was this girl I used to be in love with in elementary. I used to sit around in class and be sitting there thinking about if somebody's breaking a class right now and kidnap her or some shit like that, I'll turn into Goku and I'll go save him. This is dumb kid shit. You think as a grown man now, this is what I believe in, and I think I'm Goku for real, and I'm finna go Super Saiyan? Like, when you're a kid, you believe in things that are not real and things that are not true. It's because you're a kid, you're young, and you don't know any better. This lady is mentally ill.
So this is someone who believes that a fat man is traveling through the sky on a flying reindeer at lightning speed, coming down his chimney with presents.
Yeah.
Would you say that this is someone who maybe has a tenuous grasp on reality?
They have an appropriate 4-year-old handle on the
Sure.
reality
Agreed.
that's very real for
Correct.
them.
Agreed.
They have the cognitive ability of a 4-year-old, so you treat them as such. If a 4-year-old believes in Santa Claus, you're not gonna be like, oh, smart. This baby's retarded. This baby's a downright fool. You would never say that because it's a baby. You expect them to believe in things that's not true or not real or tooth fairies and stuff. But when you become an adult, you believe in other things. Like,
Agreed. But Santa Claus is real for them, but
Yeah.
Santa Claus is not actually real.
Yeah, well, but Santa Claus does deliver their Christmas presents.
Santa Claus doesn't deliver their Christmas presents. Their parents buy their Christmas presents. What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, yeah, but he's not real, though.
To that child, they
You
are.
see? The disconnect from reality. You see what's going on here? This lady's insane. They are so far For me, I don't got patience. I couldn't talk to people like this. Unless I'm getting paid a lot of money, then you'd be surprised. I'll talk all day to a crazy motherfucker. But I can't just willingly talk to people like this. You have no grasp on reality. What are you saying? To the child of this, but it's not real. If I'm a child and I believe in something, and I believe in unicorns don't exist. So what are we talking about here? Do you believe in Santa Claus? She probably does believe in Santa Claus. So that's why her whole thought process is, yeah. And oh my God.
When I see a child who, believes in Santa Claus, and then let's say this is a boy and he says, I'm a girl.
Mm-hmm.
This is someone who can't distinguish between fantasy and reality. So how could you take that as a reality?
You see
I
her
would say that.
you see her brain trying to process logic. She's like, logic? This can't be happening. I have to disprove this logic with my theories and my
Say that as a pediatrician and as a parent, I would say how wonderful my 4-year-old in their imagination is.
One of the hardest things as we did this film, especially in interviewing somebody
I feel sorry for kids with parents like that. You have no hope.
like that, is not, like, my instinct just to yell at them to begin with. But that's not what it's kind of a short film if it's just me going around yelling at people. The exchange there, but it only gets weirder from here. Let's keep watching. Male gametes. That's what makes me male.
No, your sperm don't make you male.
Then what does?
It's a constellation.
In reality, in truth, okay?
Whose truth are we talking about?
The same truth that says we're sitting in this room right now, you and I.
No, you're not listening.
If I see a chicken laying eggs and I say that's a female chicken laying eggs, did I assign female, or am I just observing a physical reality that's happening in the world?
Does a chicken have gender
And this
identity?
is the thing. She's going on with semantics. And these are the things with people. Oh, just because you see a vagina and a titty doesn't make it a woman. It's like, what are we talking about? If I see a chicken, I know it's a chicken. I don't have to be a chicken to identify as a chicken to know that's a chicken. It's a chicken. If I see an elephant, I could describe to you what elephants look like. I could describe to you what an elephant look like. I don't have to be an elephant to know what an elephant look like. But
Does a chicken cry?
Well,
Does a chicken commit suicide? Let's
what does that
frame
have to do
it
with
because
anything? What does that have to do with what we're talking about? These people are mentally insane.
you're talking, you're trying
The chicken has sex, like
The
any,
chicken
like any
has
biological
sex and
organ.
it has reproductive organs. That's why we could distinct between a chicken and a fowl.
an assigned gender, but a chicken doesn't have a gender identity.
So
If there was no
assign
gender
female to chicken?
identities, none of us would be here. There would just be one sex. Nobody would be able to reproduce. None of us would be here.
When they lay eggs,
We
that's
assume they're female if they lay eggs.
that right there will
No, we're not
go down
assuming.
for me.
It is a female. Males can't give birth or lay eggs. There's never been a male since the beginning of time that's been able to give birth or reproduce. Anytime you see those videos of people like, oh, he's giving birth, that's a woman that's transitioning or pretending to be a man or whatever it is. But that's a woman. That's not a biological man. That's a biological woman dressed up as a man giving birth. What are we talking about here?
As maybe one of the most probably, and every other thing that makes it on this particular list is also happened in the film, but certainly one of the most outrageous exchanges I've ever had with anybody. And of course, see, this is what happens when you start asking questions to the proponent of gender ideology, is they end up backing themselves into various corners, and they have to make increasingly more
They have
wild
to every
sort of,
time. I notice that every time I watch these videos with these people, because it's not based in logic or reality to begin with. So most people, it's just like with a liar. You ask them a few questions, the whole story's gonna fall apart. Then you get them in a corner, and now they have to go to the outliers, and they have to, you know what I'm saying, move the goalposts, things like that. Because they have no argument to begin with. From the jump, they have no argument. So it's easy to destroy somebody who have no argument. It's easily to destroy their argument because they have none.
of claims to get themselves out of the corners that they've backed themselves into. And so when you're talking about sex, for example, like it's all on a spectrum, and sex is something that is, as she says in our
This
conversation,
is the reason why I
she
like
says that
watching dudes like him. Because if we don't have people like this combating what they're trying to push, everything's going to collapse. That's why I like watching him, watching Jordan Peterson. That's why I like watching these dudes. Because they know how to articulate their points without, you know what I'm saying, losing their cool. Because most people would just lose their cool and start choking somebody. Most people can't. Most people can't tolerate talking to somebody who's just doesn't comprehend or just doesn't understand. And especially when they repeating foolishness over and over and over. Eventually you're going to just lose your shit and start choking people. So you need people that could keep their cool and have the conversations that need to be had with these type of people, because I couldn't do it.
as that sex is assigned at birth, that just like doctors are just deciding this kind of arbitrarily. Well, if that's the nature of sex, then what about other organisms aside from human beings? Okay, we would also say that when a chicken is laying eggs, oh, well, that's a female chicken. Are we assigning that? Is that just something we've decided that the chicken is female? Or is the chicken female?
And this is the problem.
And if the chicken is
this
female,
is the day and age we in. Anybody can be what they want to be, and anybody can feel how they want to feel, and everybody's great, and everything is accepted, and there's no such thing as bad. I remember there was a time when shame was a thing. There's no such thing as shame anymore. Nobody feels shame for nothing. But it's weird because there's, quote, nobody got no shame, quote unquote, supposedly nobody got no shame. But everybody's sensitive about everything. You got no shame, you don't care nothing, you then why is everybody so sensitive? When people say certain things, everybody's panties get all up in a bunch. Why? You got no shame. What I'm saying or what? And that's the problem. When it's like the old saying, the truth hurts. I don't know why the truth hurts. It's the truth. It should, it should feel good. It's the truth. That's, you want to know the truth, right? It should feel good. It should go down like gin and tonic. But people don't like hearing the truth. People want you to lie to them. When you start telling people the truth, especially when you're saying the truth, it's hard to combat the truth. So they got to come with these over-exaggerated, preposterous things that makes no sense. They have to start saying these ridiculous things, and it to the point where you like, what are they talking about? They can't believe these things. I used to think these people were joking. I used to think all these videos of these people was just jokes. But no, people genuinely don't know the difference between a man and a woman, and people genuinely believe these things. And these are, if these are younger people, I can understand. But this lady looks like she has to be like 50 years old. And you're a medical professional. And you telling me basically there is no gender and you can be whatever you want to be.
Female, then that would tell us something about the nature of biological sex, which is that it's not a sign.
But you know what I'm saying?
It is observed. But she can't go along with that, and so she starts talking about the chicken's gender identity and whether chickens commit suicide. And it doesn't get much better from there. Well, last week, Kim Kardashian announced her new role as chief taste consultant for
with medication.
So medical affirmation begins when the patient says they're ready for it. So that could be a kiddo who is just starting puberty and panicking because they're getting breast buds or their penis is getting bigger and busier and they're worried about all kinds of masculine changes. And that way, puberty blockers, which are completely reversible and don't have permanent effects, are wonderful because we can put that pause on puberty. It's like if you were...
This lady said you could just put a pause on puberty. Just hit that pause button. Just boom. Puberty. We pause that bitch like a PlayStation. We come back play that motherfucker tomorrow. Just pause it. These people are mentally insane. I genuinely believe that. I used to think, this is a mental illness.
You were listening to music, you put the pause on, and we stopped the blockers, and puberty would go right back to where it was. The next note in the song just delayed that period of time.
So this is a part from later in the film as we start getting into more of the specifics here about puberty blockers. And I'm not going to say myself right now a lot in response to that because you have to go watch the film. Because, as I said, I'm asking questions. We don't just ask questions of people on this side. We bring in other people. So there's a little bit of a back and forth here. But we're going to get a response in the film to this claim that puberty can just be, just pause it. As she says, like music. Does the human body work that way?
I'm sure it doesn't.
I mean, is that the way it works? Where you can take a drug to intentionally interfere with certain normal, healthy processes, and you could take, and then there's no negative consequences at all? Just stop taking the drug and pick up where you left off? Which, of course, the interesting thing is that even if that was true, which it isn't, as you'll see in the film, but even if it was true, well, then wouldn't that mean, if a child's taking puberty blockers to stop their normal development, and then we're just putting it on pause for, let's say, 5 years, and then they decide that, okay, I don't want to take this anymore, well, at a minimum, now they're going to be 5 years behind in their growth and development. So even according to her version of events, like at a minimum, you're going to have stunted growth and you're going to have someone who is behind in their physical development. But actually, the consequences are a lot worse than that.
I could only imagine. I'm not no doctor, but I could only imagine if you do something like that and you decide, I don't want the hormone blockers anymore.
About
5 years later, you're 20 now, and you started taking it when you was 13. Oh, I don't know.
What do they do?
What is going to be going on with your body?
What is their actual purpose? Let's watch that.
One of the drugs used is Lupron, right? Which has actually been used to chemically castrate sex offenders.
You know what? I'm not sure that we should continue with this interview because it seems like
when you talk facts, they always crumble. They always get defensive and, oh, I don't think we should do this anymore. Why? Why shouldn't we do this anymore? No, let's keep this thing going. It's just getting good. This is the best part.
seems like it's going in a particular direction.
Well, you're a medical professional.
I am a medical professional.
So you don't want to talk about the drugs that you give to kids, or?
It is drugs, and you're giving it to children. But when you say it like that, even for anybody, when you say it like that, it's gonna sound like, "Whoa, you're giving drugs to kids." It just sounds crazy. But that's exactly what she's doing. But just the way he's framing it, and then she gonna say that, "Oh, I don't like the way you're framing it," but no, he's actually articulating it and framing it exactly the way it is, and using the words exactly the way the words is supposed to be used, and the nouns, the verbs, and every goddamn thing.
Again, I'm a physician and I use
medication.
You're choosing
Medication. Stop. Medication, drugs, same shit. Let's keep it real. That's why they call it a drugstore. You know what I'm saying? When you go to the pharmacist, you get it's drugs that they give you. That's why you need a prescription. You can't just go, it's not over the counter. Drugs. That's what it's called. It's called drugs. It's a drugstore. What are we talking about? You go up in there, you get your shit. It's behind the counter. You need prescription. Half of that shit up in there can kill you. You take 10 Advils. That'll be your last headache. Let's keep it real. And that stops headache. Like, come on, bro. All these shits is drugs. And that's what you're giving them. Talk to her. Talk to her, Matt. Talk to her.
Exploitive words. Drugs I give to kids.
I'm choosing a
chemical
word
castration.
In the dictionary.
That's not a correct term for puberty blocking.
Look it up, Matt.
Look it up on my phone.
Talk to this bitch. Look it up.
You can look it up on your phone.
It says medical definition, the administration of a drug to bring about a marked reduction in the body's production of androgens and especially testosterone.
And I'm saying, as a pediatrician,
You see how she getting defensive? Like, no, fuck out of here. You're not taking care of no kids. You're destroying these kids.
when you use that terminology, you were being malignant and harmful.
I mean, there are some who would say that
what you're doing is malignant. Malignant. It's not a word I use very much. And harmful. Not what he's saying. He's not harming anybody by what he's saying. You chemically castrating children. Who's being harmful here? Him or you? He's a YouTuber. You giving kids drugs to block their puberty for years and then talk about we just pause that motherfucker and you be back off it 10 years later and your body will be perfectly fine.
Tration drugs to kids.
Thank you.
Harmful.
It's about the context of caring for a child and
the context.
Seeing the suffering that kids can have that have not been in affirmative home situations.
So that was the part in our conversation where things got a bit contentious. But I wouldn't say that's when they started to get contentious. Actually, what we discovered in doing these interviews is that I kind of knew going in. I had certain points in mind where I thought, okay, well, when I ask this question, things might get a little bit tense, and I kind of know because that's more of a challenging question. And what I found so often in these interviews is that things got tense much earlier than I originally thought they would, because there were questions that I thought would be really
That's
easy.
the thing.
For
to you think of these as easily questions that anybody could easily explain, articulate, and give a response to. But if what you're doing and if you're full of shit, then simple questions, especially if you're a liar, simple questions, I've noticed it, most people have. when you're talking to a liar, they could say something simple like, "Oh, I forgot to do some shit." You ask them one question, so what you was doing at the time when you were supposed to go do that shit you were supposed to do. It's a whole bunch of shit now. Because just you asking them a simple question, their whole story falls apart because they was fucking lying. If they was telling the truth, they would be like, this is what happened, this is why I couldn't make it, and this is such and such and such. But liars, you ask them maybe 2-3 questions pertaining to the story what they just told you. And they're going to be all over the goddamn place. You know why? Because they're a liar and they're full of shit. Just like this lady right here.
For the person that I'm talking to, that turned out not to be easy at all. Questions like, what's the difference between sex and gender? You know, these are like, that's also supposed to be a softball. But even that, things start to go off the rails.
That's a layup. You can't, that's a layup.
Like that. Because what we found is that these people, these gender ideologues, especially the ones who are in this industry, and they're making a lot of money off of
obviously
promoting gender
money. She ain't doing it for free.
Kids. It's that what we found is that they are not prepared to encounter any.
Because most of the time, these type of people, especially nowadays with the way the society's moving, those people that are in that field or people that are on that side of the fence pushing those agendas. Damn, I forgot what I was going to say. Damn, that's crazy.
At all. They're not prepared to answer
yeah,
any
that's what I was about
question.
to say. Came back to me. Yeah, they're not used to people on the other side of the fence challenging them. Because most of the time, once you challenge them, they kind of either like call you some type of course we know the words that they use, you this, you sexist, you're homophobe or transphobe, or you some type of phobe, and which is insane to me because phobia means fear. Obviously you're not scared of these people, but whatever. So they start, you know what I'm saying, they use terms to make you, you know what I'm saying, to kind of like put you in a box. So you just be like, you know what, let me just leave these people alone. That's what it is most of the time. People just be like, you know what I mean, just leave them alone. Let them, you know what I'm saying, push whatever they want to push. But if someone dares to challenge them, they just go off the rails because they can't, because one, they've never been challenged, and it's hard to, if your viewpoints have never been challenged, you think you're the man. You could say whatever the fuck you want to say, you believe whatever you want to believe, and you keep pushing whatever you want to push, and you feel like the man because you've never been challenged. But the minute somebody challenges your ideologies and you fall apart.
The only questions they're prepared to answer are the questions that are not really questions at all, right? Questions like, how meaningful is it to you to be able to help people in their gender journey? Like that, those kind of questions, where it's just a setup for them to give a pre-planned, canned, speech. So by the time we got to this exchange, it had already gotten pretty tense. And of course, I asked her about Lupron. Now, this is a drug that she gives to kids.
Drug.
And
I like how you say that,
somebody else
that's
in
what
the
it
film,
is.
Scott Nugent, who
It
has
ain't
experienced
medication.
these kinds of drugs,
They ain't
personal
sick.
experience. This drug in particular is a drug. It is actually, by definition, chemical castration, which is why I wasn't planning on doing this, but I pulled out my phone, look up the definition of chemical castration. She says that chemical castration, that's a exploitative word, and I'm being malignant and harmful by using that word. Well, look up the definition of chemical castration.
Castrations means cutting your thing off, or, you know what I'm saying, chopping something off, removing it surgically. Chemical castration means they give you drugs so basically it don't work anymore. Damn it, like, you know what I'm saying, basically falls off. It don't fall off, but that thing ain't working no more, so you might as well throw it in the garbage. It's useless. So that's what chemical castration is. They're using drugs to castrate you so you can't have children. There's that way, or they can castrate you for real. Put you under the knife and chop that thing off. But that's what you do when you give them drugs so they can't. Come on now.
Castration, and that is a puberty blocker.
Blockers. Come on.
That is, by definition, when you give a kid a puberty blocker, you are performing chemical castration on the kid, period. And we know that because Lupron specifically has been used to chemically castrate sex offenders. You notice in that exchange, by the way, she didn't deny. She takes issue with the words that I'm using.
She can't deny
to get
because
up and
it's
storm.
true. Of course, they're going to take issue and try to make you articulate in a certain way to make it not look like what it is, but she can't deny it because that's what she's doing. If she denied it, then she'd be a straight liar. She's straight up saying that's what she does.
Out. She's offended by the way that I'm phrasing it, the words, but she never says, "Oh no, that's totally incorrect. Lupron does not do that. Lupron's never been used that way." Doesn't say that because she can't. I don't have to tell you that gas prices are really high right now. You've probably noticed yourself everyone, and which is what is a woman, and probably is not going to surprise you by now that she doesn't exactly have an answer for it. But let's listen to what she comes up with.
So we're going on this journey. Boys can be girls, girls can be boys, men can be women, women can be men. It makes me wonder, what is a woman?
What is a woman? A woman is someone who claims that as their identity. It could be many things to many people.
That was her answer. Well, a woman is anyone, and that was, by the way,
say that a woman is any person that feels like they're a woman. No. What is a woman? Define what it is to me. They can't define it, because if they define it, then everything they say would be bullshit. So they gotta say a woman is somebody that feels like a woman. They can't. No. Biology. We break it down to the biology. Fuck what you feel like. I feel like a millionaire. I ain't got $1 million. I feel like a 6'5" Caucasian. I ain't white and I ain't 6'5". I'm 6'2". But let's keep it real. Like, come on, I'll stop.
Not to give any spoilers away, but that is the answer from the left.
All of them say
which
that.
Is a non-answer. It's the same thing as not answering. But that is
whatever you feel like. Woman, no, define it to me.
Is someone who says they're a woman. And of course, to everyone who gives me that answer in the film, I have the follow-up. Well, a woman is someone who identifies as a woman. What are they identifying as? And around we go. Because they don't have an answer to the question. This is a medical doctor who can't tell you what a woman is.
This is not
this is
good.
someone who, if someone goes to her and says, as a man, and says, I'm really a woman and I want to transition into a woman, she will help facilitate that process, and yet she doesn't know what the word means. She doesn't actually know, by her own testimony, when someone says, I want to transition to a woman, she doesn't even know what that means. Like, what are you transitioning into? She has no idea. As we found over and over again in the film. And that was just a few minutes of the film. Only one person of the dozen.
As you've gathered throughout watching this video, I'm coming across really frustrated because I am. This shit's annoying, man.
That we spoke to. And I can tell you right now that what we heard in those clips there, I don't think any of it qualifies as quite the craziest thing we heard. The chicken part gets pretty close. Still not all the way there. There's so much more that you need to see. But you have to go to whatisawoman.com.
We're gonna end this video right here. I'll be back to you guys with another one. Goodness gracious with these people.
Look at this. Somebody come look at this. Look at this. Somebody come and look at this.